Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to PAM Malaysian Architecture Education Online Lecture Series. I hope everyone is doing well in this time of social distancing. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, PAM, for giving us a platform to do this. So I'll introduce about MASA. So MASA stands for Malaysia Architecture Student Alliance and is a non-profit student committee acting directly under PAM, which is the Pertubuhan Architect Malaysia, consisting of students representative from all architecture institute in Malaysia. So during this time of MCO, MASA and PAM have decided to launch this online lecture series for students to be more productive and gain more insights. So Dr. Zack, Architect Ardianta is the education head, and Dr. Zack is the convener. So my name is Guma Sylvester. I am a MASA representative from UCSI University, and I will be your MC for tonight. So we are pleased to welcome our guest speaker, Ts.Dr. Zack Zairul, MN. He's a senior lecturer at the Department of Architecture of Faculty of Design and Architecture at the University Putra, Malaysia. He is a professional technologist, hence the title TS, a member of Lembaga Architect Malaysia and Pertubuhan Architect Malaysia. He has obtained his PhD from Technology University of Delft in Netherlands. Before joining UPM in the year 2008, he was an architect at the then Ministry of Internal Security under the project department supervising RMK9 projects throughout Malaysia. He also has 4 years of experience as project architect in Johor Bahru. So throughout his academic career, he has developed his research interests in the areas of open building, which is inspired by the theory of John Hebreken that relates to the flexible housing industrialized building system, or IBS, and affordable housing for young urbanites. His doctorate research has discussed a new business model for the housing industry that challenges the conventional housing procedure. It has produced a disruptive business model for the housing industries from a circular economy approach. He has published and presented his research work in various journals and proceedings, internationally and locally. His work on flexible housing of the housing industry in Malaysia has received recognition from the international company in Finland during a presentation in ETH Zurich in Switzerland 2005. Okay, so enjoy and relax, everyone. So just a reminder, after this, we'll have a Q&A session after the talk. Dr. Zack, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank
okay,
you.
I'll pass the floor to you, Dr. Zack.
All right. Hi, hello everyone. Good evening. I hope you guys still safe and sound. Okay. How are you guys today? Okay. For Muslim, happy Ramadan. Today is already 4th day of fasting. Okay. So for tonight, let's not be too formal. It's 9 o'clock already in the evening, and I think everyone is already, why is it and 9 o'clock in the evening? Okay, let's just make this session as just a sharing of my my experience. Partly, I think most of the things that I'm going to share tonight is all is about my PhD, which is about flexible housing. So it is also good for you guys, whoever maybe, maybe in the future you are willing to do research. So maybe you can, see what's I've taken in my journey as a researcher, and then complete my PhD. So actually, okay, before I begin, when I did my study in architecture, I never actually ever dreamed to continue PhD. Okay, I think like most of you guys, you just want to finish your part 1 and part 2 and then, you know, just practice. But at some point of time, you will realize that, oh, the industry is, you know, it's not really promising. So maybe research is a good idea. So I will also share my experience, how I did my research in my PhD. So this is just a sharing session. Don't be too stressed. Okay, I will share now my screen. Okay, I hope you guys can see from the screen. Is it visible now?
Yep. Yes.
All right.
It's not full screen though.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's good now.
Oops. Okay. So the topic today is about adopting circular economy into flexible housing project. May I know, anybody ever heard about circular economy before? All right, I cannot see the screen, but just maybe I don't know. Raise your hand. Anybody heard about circular economy before, except Mahmud? Other than Mahmud, anybody heard about circular economy? Do you have any idea what is circular economy? No. Okay. No. Right. All right. Okay. Let me just because I need to minimize and maximize the screen. Okay. Pardon me with that. Okay. Let's just run through this. Guma already introduced me just now. Okay. Let me just share my experience in this architecture. As soon as I finish my part 2 in from UIA back in 2005, I practiced in Johor Bahru for 4 years as a project architect. At that time, I involved a lot in housing projects. I became the project architect for I think for that 4 years. I handle, I think, almost more than 20 projects. So somehow that during that moment, I built up my passion towards housing. Okay, so this is how it started. um, and also during that time, the problems of the affordable housing is already became the problems at that moment, at that particular of time, and until today it's not being resolved. So you know, I've always, you know, we as an architect, we always been trained to solve a problems. Okay, so we always wanted to, okay, how we want to solve this problem. We know that the affordable housing is not enough. So as an architect, what can we do? What can we you know, propose so that we can you know, try to solve a bit of the problem. Okay. um, During practice, okay, I realized that there's nothing much you can do. Okay, ever since, yeah, of course you are not the boss, so normally in the practice, you know, the architects, sadly, they just follow whatever, you know, instruction from the client, and then the housing end up to be a typical housing. Okay, and not so much on, you know, solving the social issues, solving the societal issues. So it's kind of frustrating, and therefore during the industrial or during the practice, I've already built up this the needs to do research. Okay, I've started my interest to do some research even though I'm in practice. Okay, as I mentioned, it's never came into my mind to become you know, lecturers or to jump into education. I always wonder why you know, my lecturer become lecturer despite, you know, having so many years in the architecture education, and then you end up become educator. I never that never came into my sense. So, but suddenly after 4 years of experience in the industry, and then after that I joined government under ministry, the then Ministry of Internal Security, to become a project architect also. I feel that my life is a bit saturated. Okay, there's nothing much I can do, and at least if not changing the things, at least I want to write something so that people can read my piece of work, and then something can be done to improve the system. Okay, from that moment I build up, as I mentioned, I'm kind of like research, to do research. After only 6 months in the Ministry of Internal Security, I decided to join UPM. At that time, I'm just a tutor. I'm still have no idea what I'm going to do in the next future. But then, when I was offered the position, I was told that, okay, we will send you to do master and also later to do PhD, to complete the PhD, because then you will have, I have a bit of experience in the practice, and then accompany with this higher education certificate, so I can merge these two knowledge together. So that's where I joined in 2008 in UPM, and in 2010 I pursued my master, and then 2010 master, and in 2012 I started my PhD, and then complete everything in 2016. So that's where my interest from the housing, and then this open building. Okay, the guru is John Habraken. He's a Dutch architect who now resides in USA. He became the professor in one of the university in USA. So he came up with this term of flexible housing, and flexible housing is part of the industrial building system where everything manufactured in the factory. So everything that manufactured before or not constructed on site 100% is called fabricated. Okay, so that's where I merged this idea together, and then I proposed a new business model, and then I have this flexible and the IBS together, and then I have another theory of circular economy, where I combine together, become a new business model. So doing master or PhD in research, we are focusing towards a novelty of the idea, where there's nobody talk about it before, nobody ever done it before. Then you came up with this new idea. So that's how we started research to make it novel. Okay, and then when I presented my first idea in 2013 in ETH Zurich, I was given a plot by the company from Finland. They also presented during their session, and then they liked the idea of this flexible housing using circular economy. All right, what is circular economy? Okay, imagine at the moment your handphone, every one of you got handphone. Okay, suddenly the torchlight is open. Okay, imagine the handphone that you use. Okay, I wonder how many times that you change your handphone for the past 5 years. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I think I change the phone every I'm sadly to say this, but
every
I think
year.
every oh no, from previous one. Okay, this is iPhone X. This is iPhone. Sorry, I don't know which one is iPhone X. I think this one is iPhone X, and then this one is the latest one. So I tend to be frequently changing the phone. Okay, but that's not the idea. Okay, the idea is that you know that for every time the handphone is produced, it actually involve a lot of key resources. Okay, not walking the talk. Okay, now I will remain this handphone like maybe for the next 5 years. Okay, so every time this new handphone being came up to the market, it involves a lot of resources. It involves a lot of materials, involve a lot of labors. Okay, because at the moment the current economy is linear. Okay, from make to dispose. I will explain about it later. But then imagine that if we can recycle, not only recycle, it's a circular now. What you give is what you get. Okay, so what if the handphone, have you heard about refurbished handphone? Have you heard about that?
Yep.
I think I think it becomes trend nowadays that they are selling the refurbished phone, where the phone look new, but it's a used phone. Okay, so the idea is just that they just upgrade the component inside, and then they just change the outer part of the handphone. So that, but the other part is the original part, the tuning part. Okay, so that's actually part of the circular economy. Now, I hope you get the idea about the circular economy. Okay, so the idea of this circular economy is to close the loop. Okay, so what we mean by close the loop is that, okay, if you look at the slide, from the primary resources, the exploration, and then the mining, processing, raw material, design, production, use and reuse, collection, recycling. Okay, normally it will just stop at recycling. Okay, but now we want to have it a loop, a closed loop, where is the loop is like infinity. Okay, so in order to uphold this principle, okay, we need to look into the background. Okay, the school of thoughts. So actually, from cradle to cradle, okay, cradle to cradle is from German chemist and visionary Michael Brongard. They developed together with American architect Bill McDonough the cradle to cradle concept. So the cradle to cradle concept, because previously it's a cradle to grave. Okay, from cradle to grave. It's like, okay, after all the materials are being dumped, so it become grave. It's like, okay, at the end of the life of the products. But now cradle to cradle means it needs to be it beyond recycle. It's no longer recycle. Recycle is just you you recycle again, and then some of the materials being left out, and then only certain part which is being recycled. But we talking about the entire thing can be recycled. Okay, that's what we call circular economy. Okay, and then the next strategy, which is for performance economy, is from Walter Sahil. Okay, Walter Sahil is also an architect and industrial analyst. Okay, he's the first architect who sketched this idea in 1976 in the European Commission. Okay, he imagined this towards energy that we use. Okay, how we can regenerate the energy, and then to make it circular economy. Okay, so these are some of the gurus, I would say, sifus in this who came up with the circular economy. And then Biomimicry, I think most of you familiar with this, by Janine Benyus, innovation inspired by nature. Okay, she defined her approach as a new discipline that studies nature's best ideas and then imitate these design and process to solve human problems. You imagine like a plant, okay, plants. Okay, it grows and then it become fertilized, okay, and then it dies, and then the seed become, you know, for the next generation of the plant. So that's actually the principle of circular economy as well. Okay, I'll show this video so that you have the idea, and then you can see how water style look like, because you need to know his original idea so that you understand what circular economy is all about. Okay, let me just play this.
With the clothing, furniture, electronics, vehicles or buildings, we surround ourselves with objects
Internet.
that we use only for a limited time. The resources which are extracted from planet Earth to make these objects are used once or twice and then dumped. Yet the resources on our planet are non-renewable and finite, except for rainfall, sunlight, biomass, animals and people. And our global commons have become waste dumps. Within 60 years, we have filled the oceans with millions of low-tech plastic objects and space with thousands of high-tech objects. So, the present industrial economy is not compatible with the natural resources and waste dumps available on planet Earth. More of the same is no business model for success. We need to create higher standards of living from a more intelligent resource use. More from less. I have an idea how to do it. Circularity. It's great. Circularity. That is how nature works. Water, biomass, CO2, seasons. Nature works in cycles, waste-free. Water and land are special cases. Sea level rise and erosion permanently reduce the land surface, and deforestation will diminish rainfall. As a result, droughts and wildfires may become more frequent and vicious so. For thousands of years, mankind was part of nature, functioning in loops. Use it up, wear it out, make it do and do without was the motto. But this was a circular economy of poverty and scarcity. 200 years ago, the Industrial Revolution uncoupled people from nature. Human ingenuity turned coal and iron into steam engines to replace horses, enabling men to produce enough food and shelter for all and provide faster mobility on land and water. 100 years ago, human ingenuity developed electricity, opening up the vertical dimension in cities and turning night into day. And oil complemented coal as abundant energy supply. Then chemistry, engineering, and finance opened the floodgates of mass production and turned industrialized countries into societies of abundance, allowing the world population to triple, billions of people to increase their health and quality of life, and democracy to flourish within the last 70 years. This is industrial man's success story. But abundance also led to oversupply, saturated markets, and omnipresent waste. We lost control of our waste dumps because the industrial economy is linear. The industrial economy is like a river. You cannot stop it or you cause a flood. So the goods that are produced have to be sold. And the goods have to be produced to maintain the income and GDP wealth for the nations. Growth in the industrial economy means throughput. It means producing more, whereas in the circular economy, growth can be measured as an increase in quantity and quality of stocks. In other words, the industrial economy is about flows and throughput in a one-way street that ends in a cul-de-sac. It is also about lost liability control. At the point of sale, liability for the use of objects and their end-of-life waste passes from manufacturers to buyers, consumers, to you and me, to society at large. Nobody's liability. The cost will be borne by the taxpayer. Now, the circular industrial economy is applying circularity to the stocks of manufactured objects, cultural and human capital. But this is a circular economy of abundance, not of scarcity. And it is driven by human ingenuity and social innovation, such as repair cafes and neighborhood help, not by sheer necessity. To understand how circular industrial economy works, let us have a look at cars. Imagine that car manufacturers find a way to double the product life of cars. That would reduce by half the number of cars that need to be produced in a saturated market, would reduce therefore resource consumption by half. It would reduce the waste of cars scrapped by half, but it would also reduce the revenue of manufacturers by half.
You know, I'd like to try that.
Car manufacturers now have two options. They can increase the revenue in the use phase, and they can increase the revenue in the fly phase. In the use phase, it means investing in operation and maintenance, whereas before they only invested in manufacturing plants. And in the end of life phase, it means getting parts, components back for remanufacturing and reuse in new cars. So closing the loop, but as they are not the owners of the cars, there may be other people who take other options. So therefore, the car manufacturer, if he really wants to exploit the full product life of cars, he has to change his business model from selling cars to selling the utilization of cars.
All right. You can watch this how this circular economy was already applied. Okay, mainly in the manufacturing sector. Okay, let me just show some other examples. Okay, as I mentioned just now, in a handphone also you have this refurbished models sell in the market. Okay, so that is actually approach from circular economy. And also, as being discussed by William Sahil just now, car also being remanufactured. Like for example, okay, there's some business model, for example, by Kia, by Renault, and some of the top manufacturers. Like for example, my cars. Okay, I was given this. I own a Kia. Okay, I was given this package where after 5 years, I can sell back my car to this to the manufacturers, which is Kia, and then I will get 50% of what I paid during my, my early when I bought it. Okay, so it is being implemented as already in the automotive or in the car manufacturing sector. Okay, so the circular economy is now new way of seeing the world. Okay, how we want to reduce the waste while giving a whole new value to the concept of sustainability. Now, in order to implement this system, the products need to be durable. See, the product needs to be, it cannot be lauya lah, okay? So it needs to be sturdy, it needs to be durable, because right now you're talking about a product that the lifespan may be 100 years, because you want to give repurpose to the product. Okay, so let me just show another example, which is this is I don't know whether this company already launched, but they came up with the idea of the handphone. Okay, the modular handphone. Okay, maybe for example, if I want to upgrade this phone to maybe a new spec, new specification of a new phone, so I would just change the camera maybe, and then change maybe the outer look of it, which is a very cosmetic, and then maybe change of the processor, which is easily I can get it from market, and then I can just easily change it myself. So then I can have a bigger spec. So but the phone is still remain the same. It's still I don't need to throw this phone and then buy a new phone. Okay, so let's just watch this another video. Okay, so this is another idea of putting circular economy into a mobile phone. Okay, where the idea of the circularity is maintained in the loop, and then to make the phone modular. Okay, modular in the sense that if you want to upgrade, you just buy the components, and then you upgrade the phone to be whatever specs that you can afford. So that's another strategy. And then some of the pioneers in this circular economy we have Renault, Philips, Ricoh, and Heineken and soft circular manufacturing. Okay, this is another strategy of they are not they are no longer selling the product, they are selling the service. Okay, imagine the lighting. Okay, the lighting, you have the how many lux that you want to use. Okay, how many capacity that you want to use for the lighting. Okay, rather than selling the bulb, Philips now selling the performance of the product. Okay, so let's just watch another video of this.
What is Philips circular lighting, and how does it fit within the principles of a circular economy? As opposed to a linear economy, the circular economy focuses on bringing as many materials as possible back into the production loop. Make, use, return. We've completely rethought the way in which lighting solutions can contribute to a circular economy. Philips circular lighting brings together 4 key components: light as a service, circular product design, reverse logistics, and collaboration. In our light as a service business model, you don't need to make an upfront investment. You save from day one. Your contract includes maintenance, reverse logistics support, everything you'll ever need. But it all starts with a smart circular product design. Our modular luminaire design makes it easy to replace standardized components and install upgrades like data-enabled lighting. Thanks to reverse logistics, used products are not disposed of as waste. Instead, they are returned to the manufacturer. Whenever possible, we refurbish the products for future use. And if a product has reached the end of its lifetime, we harvest functional parts to reuse them and recycle the rest of the materials. Philips lighting will support the full feedback loop that brings a product's components back into the production cycle. To help your organization contribute to a sustainable circular economy, Philips circular lighting is the best possible choice to minimize your carbon footprint and achieve instant savings. We are committed to staying at the cutting edge of lighting innovation for the planet and for a more sustainable future.
Okay, another example, as I mentioned, Ricoh, this photocopying machine company. So if you notice, at the moment, you don't need to buy the photocopy machine anymore. Okay, so what this company doing now at the moment is that they lease the photocopy machine to the company. So the leaser, okay, they just pay for how many copies that they use, okay, for maybe for 1 month and maybe for maybe 6 months and then 1 year. So you don't need to pay or to buy the whole photocopy machine. You know, the photocopy machine is very big and very huge, and then it can be very expensive. So what they are doing now is they lease, okay, the machine to the office. Okay. Right. Okay, the problems in the construction industry. Okay, as mentioned earlier by Zairul, at the moment we are using, as what mentioned, linear economy. Okay, nearly 48 million tons of building waste produced each year by the construction industry, and then sometimes the incinerator cannot cope with all this construction waste every year. Okay, if you see that concrete, timber, and steel, only a small portion of them can be reused, incinerate, or downcycle. So what happened to the rest, okay, of the products? Let's look into circular economy in cities. Okay, by 2050, 2/3 of us will live in city. Okay, this is called urbanization process. However, our urban centers are grappling with the effects of our current take-make waste economy. Okay, at the moment, as mentioned, the linear economy, linear system, cities consume over 75% of natural resources, produce over 50% of global waste, and emit between 60 to 80% of greenhouse gases. Circular economy provides the opportunity to rethink. Okay, so right now, let's think everything in circularity. So I'm going into macro first in terms of cities. Let's watch another video. Okay, today we just watch a video so that we give idea, because why I'm showing the idea, because this term may be quite new for most of you. So just grab this idea from different perspective and different maybe part of, for example, just now from manufacturing, and then we have now we are looking into cities, and later we go to construction, and then housing, and towards a micro. Okay.
By 2050, 2/3 of us will live in cities. Already, cities are where we consume 75% of our natural resources, produce over 50% of global waste, and emit up to 80% of global greenhouse gases. These are consequences of our linear take-make-waste model. But cities are also places which concentrate on innovation, education, finance, culture, and where people exchange ideas. Pragmatic and acting quickly, they play a leading role in politics and the economy. They can lead the way to develop a circular economy. The circular economy can help cities to thrive and become more livable and resilient, helping to meet urban priorities around housing, transport, and economic development. The circular economy can also help cities meet the Sustainable Development Goals and their climate targets. It starts with 3 principles. Design out waste and pollution. Avoid creating waste in the first place. For example, with products and parts created within cities where needed, using materials that can be reused, recycled, or composted. Making use of untapped space in buildings, transport, and using renewable energy to power the city, making them healthier and cleaner. Keep products in use. So products are no longer used just once. They're reused, repaired, and refurbished. And people gain access to the things they need, be it space, products, or transport, in new ways. For example, through sharing rather than owning, and connecting people to their neighbours and communities. And cities are planned so that materials flow. Regenerate natural systems, so that valuable nutrients return to the soil and air and water quality improves in the city and in the countryside beyond. Ready to get started? The Ellen MacArthur Foundation's suite of resources help you take the lead and create a city fit for today. The time to act is now.
Okay, so we're moving from cities to built environment now. How, as an architect, as a future architect, how we want to develop appropriate strategies for the design life. Okay, this one is a useful project which developed by I forgot the name of the company in the UK. So I just want to highlight in terms of the space. Okay, since that we as an architect we deal with space. So the first part is developing appropriate circular economy strategies for the design life of the building and asset. And the layers of that building and asset was another common theme. Okay, for the structure which has a long life, durability, and ease of maintenance are appropriate strategies. For fit out, which has a much shorter lifespan, service models, take-back schemes, and design for reuse and recycling should be the main approaches. So imagine a housing product, okay, or a construction product which have a long design life and very durable, and a brick that can be reusable again and again, so that it can be repurposed for another purpose. Okay, this is close enough design for flexibility and adaptability. It's a recycle house shift construction by Arup Design. I think it's a good for you to listen about this because the prototype already built in London. Let's just watch this.
we're standing inside the circular building by Arup. This started a number of months ago when we started exploring the idea of the circular economy and asking the question, what would it mean to build a building in circular economy? And for us, it's about starting to ask questions both of ourselves as designers and of the industry about how would you apply circular economy principles to a construction industry.
I think we're continuing to live in a world where we don't make the best use of the resources that are available to us. We still have far too many negative impacts on the environment when it comes to the construction sector and other associated industries. So we need to start to rethink how our industry works and how we can become sustainable in a much more holistic and integrated way.
At the moment, we work in an industry where we design an object almost like a one-off and then engage suppliers and then build it as one element. Whereas from day one, we need to think about how will we deconstruct it, how will we layer things up so they can easily be demountable, and how can we inherently design a end of life and flexibility and adaptability so it can be applied to the circular economy. So we started by looking at this house as a series of components that actually could be clamped together and then disassembled quite easily. So then we can send them back to the manufacturers and put them back into the manufacturing stream. So starting with the steel frame, that's from offcuts from the other side. It's bolted together, and so we can easily re-bolt it apart. It's also a rigid steel frame, so we can actually provide adaptability and flexibility with inside the form, and that's another element to the circular economy. On the steel frame, we put these prefabricated panels. What's unique about these panels is actually they're made from agricultural byproduct. It's after you do cropping on site, it's all the waste that's left behind. So basically it's wheat waste, it's then compressed together with in a non-toxic way. And then these boards were computer controlled cut, put together on a truck.
Okay, you can watch further in this recyclable house shift construction to circular economy. Okay, now let's go back to the history of housing in Malaysia. Okay, did you notice? Okay, do you notice that our traditional house, okay, in Malaysia, our traditional house kampung, where
non-toxic, that produce non-hazard,
where it can be built by timber, and then not only that, it can be transported to elsewhere. Okay, you can carry the whole house, and then in fact the jointing is made from tongue and groove, and then of course you can disassemble, okay, the timber and then to repurpose for another another purpose. So our forefathers has already implemented this circular economy, I suppose, and now it's a task for in this modern, okay, it's a challenge for modern world, how we want to use back these circular economy principles in our new design. Okay, so at the moment I'm teaching master students in UPM, so I'll challenge them to next semester in their final year they're going to be approaching housing project. So this is time for you to explore. Okay, maybe this can be some of the concept that you can start with. Okay, so this is the idea where flexible housing as a potential solution. This is part of my PhD thesis as well, where what if what does it mean by flexible is that what if the unit can be small, can be bigger, and it can be smaller again. Okay, this is because the demographic of the family in Malaysia, okay, for example, you start off with a single, okay, you become you are bachelor, you're still single, and then after certain time, certain years, you get married. Okay, so you have a partner, and then maybe you have a children. Okay, so maybe you have 3 children, you have 4 children, but certain point of time your children will move out from the house. Okay, you imagine if your house is really big, when you left only with your wife or with your husband, there's a portion of the house which is, unused. So what if this flexible allow you to return back the component to the factory so that it can be repurposed, it can be used for other people, okay, for other families. So this is what we call as a flexible housing. So we in this study, I combine flexible housing and business model and also innovative leasing. You remember just now I mentioned that Rico use innovative leasing as part of, they don't sell the photography machine, but they lease it. So what if leasing is one of the option? We have already leasing business model in housing, but you, in this case, you lease the whole component, okay? So that there's a contract between the leaser and also the provider. There's a certain time that you need to maintain in terms of the housing, because for the example of Rico, during this leasing period, Rico will do all the maintenance, okay, will do all this everything going to do with the replacement of the spare parts, and everything will done by the manufacturers, okay. At the moment also, Renault, you can buy, no, you can lease your car. You don't need to buy your car. For example, maybe after you graduate, you don't want to buy the car because you don't want to have a commitment. So you can subscribe to this new business model by Renault. For example, Renault is one of the company which already proposed this idea. You just lease the product or the car within a certain period of time. For example, maybe you want to, okay, I just want to have lease the car for 3 years. So you just pay for the car, and then you just take care of the fuel that you want to use for the car, of course, definitely when you want to move around. But the rest of it, in terms of maintenance and everything, you don't need to pay, because Renault will will maintain everything. So it is same goes to this flexible housing concept, where all the maintenance will be running by the company. So we frame the idea, we combine flexible housing with idea of circularity. So these are the questions that we want to formalize, okay, and then we propose a new business model. We have these are the examples of the business model components. Value proposition, you need to know the target customers, you need to know the customer service, what type of channel and networks, key resources, partnership, cost structure, revenues, and key activities. After that, and then we combine how we want to make the flexible housing can be, lease and then remove and then put back on the site, okay. So this is an example of the life cycle illustration, where, for example, Mike, 24 years, single rentals, rental single unit for 2 years. After 2 years, he moved out, and then the unit being reconfigured and then being brought back to the factory, and then after that, so let me just, okay, reconfigure, and then coming back to the factory, and then Rita and Ian couple renting double unit for 3 years, and then they move out, the thing reconfigure again in the factory, and then Hassan and family renting for 5 years and offered the company rent to buy, and we have certain package, rent to buy and rent to own, and then, and not only that, the unit, okay, once after you fulfill all the buying period, you can relocate into somewhere else. So this is the beauty of the product, where the unit can be transferred to somewhere else, okay. So we have several package in this model, where you have a standard rental, the rental based on unit chosen. Of course, if the unit is in Kuala Lumpur compared to Kuala Terengganu, the rental will be different, okay, according to market price. And then we have the rent to own, and then we have rent to buy. So rent to own, what's the difference between rent and rent to buy is that the purchaser have intention to buy, Okay, but he or she doesn't have money at the moment, so these are the the conditions, okay, compared to the rent to buy, where have no intention to buy, but then after several period of time they decided to buy it. So the company will selling the price according to market price with 20% discount. Okay, we have a okay. So these some of the ideas of this construction, where we have this shell unit, we call it. It's just like a whole unit, and then this become the slot where you can just slot into the unit. This is actually from the open building concept. Okay, we have the shell and then we have the infill. This is what we call shell, and this is what we call infill. Okay, and then there's also the you have a okay, yeah. If you have any question, please just write on the chat. I will respond later. And then there's option to actually customize also the accessories of the unit, so that is up to the affordability of the user. And then you can add on, and then step 5, okay, the customer can of course there's an agreement. The checkout customer will be there's a contract that deal with the agreement, and then delivery date will be determined. And then changing phase, okay, maybe there's a moratorium period where within 14 months, okay, you cannot change the component, but on the 15 months you can start changing the component. You can add on and then size up and size down. Okay, so the detailed part of the calculation is in my thesis. Later maybe you can read on further from there. So in to propose this idea, we have a focus group with architects come up with these flexible ideas. Okay, and then we propose studio type, single unit type, double unit type, and then duplex unit type. Okay, and then during my PhD period, I've been to Japan to Sekisui House, and I've been to Australia, Hickory Group, and the USA, and of course Europe. And these are some of the case study in Japan, Australia, and US. Okay, since we are running out of time, I will just show this one. This is a unit from US, Casita Homes, they call it, where the unit is flexible also in terms of
Do you remember Professor
moving
Dumpster?
in and moving out
Houston Tilson
from the
professor
unit.
spent a year in a dumpster on campus to learn more about living small.
While he was in that dumpster, he came up with an idea that may change affordable housing as we know it. And now his idea is becoming a reality. Fox 7's 𝐂𝐝𝐚𝐩𝐿 joins us live from East Austin with that story tonight. Casey?
Mike and Rebecca, it looks a little Jetsons, but trust me, this is becoming a reality faster than flying cars. It's called a casita unit, and come this fall, you'll be able to buy one. You might be able to afford one, too. Okay, this looks so much cooler than a dumpster, and wait until you see the inside.
So sitting here on the bench in the casita, a quick pull out here, and you've got your queen size Casper mattress. So a little bit easier than a dumpster.
Dr. Jeff Wilson is the artist formerly known as Professor Dumpster. Actually, he still likes being called that. In 2014, the Houston Tillotson Associate Professor of Biological Sciences turned a dumpster into a place to live, and he lived there for a year.
I own my stuff. It didn't own me. I spent more time outdoors and exploring the neighborhood. I had more disposable income.
Wilson says while laying in the dumpster and looking up at the stars one night, he had an idea.
Hey, you know, maybe there's something here. Maybe we could make something out of this experiment.
For venture capital, but
I'll just say that's going pretty well.
Basically what we're talking about, a structure called a casita rack will be built. The rack will hold these casita units that will be stacked into it. Wilson says this model in East Austin is 50% smaller than what the actual units will look like.
It is a 300 20 square foot mass manufacture prefab.
Okay, you can also look into this further in the YouTube. It's about this professor who used to live in dumpster and then came up with this idea of flexible and also movable, portable units of housing. Okay. All right.
So in theory,
yeah, that's all for the lecture today. I hope you guys are still awake, not sleeping. Okay, so that's basically the whole idea of circular economy. Okay, you can explore further. You can read more, of course. Just Google circular economy, and then Ellen MacArthur Foundation is one of the biggest NGO, biggest non-government organization that promote this idea, and I think I get involved in their workshop when I was in Netherlands. So it's a good insights on giving what the circular economy is, can be applied, especially in the built environment. Yeah, I think that's all from me. If there's any question, please feel free to ask.
Okay, anyone has any questions in mind? You can type in the group chat and I'll bring it up.
Oh, no question.
Yep. Alright, take your time. Okay, so there's first question here from Victor. So is there any example of the flexible housing in Malaysia?
Okay, to tell you the truth, there's none. Okay, so I can say that I'm the first who initiate this idea for Malaysian context, and we are working into a grant of coming up with the prototype. So I'm going to beat Professor Dumpster. I'm going to build a prototype if I got the grant. So hopefully it can be realized soon. Yep.
What about shipping containers? Would that be flexible housing as well?
Okay, all right. Of course, the idea is taken from the shipping container because the portability and the movability of the shipping container. But then when you discuss about the flexible housing, it doesn't necessarily need to be a shipping container. It just need to take the size of the shipping container, and then you can design it, as creative as you want, because the basis you can use the size of the shipping container because it's easy to be transportable elsewhere. But again, it's also according to the truck that you use, to the transportation that you use. So if the transportation can take longer units, so the sizing can be not universal as a shipping container. It can be beyond that.
Okay, all right. Next question is from Wen Yi Lam. What do you think of applying the concept of circular economy in housing in Malaysia context?
Okay, of course, I came up with this idea. Okay, and then when we interviewed and when we shared this with the expert, especially from the developer and especially towards these stakeholders in the construction industry, of course, the first reaction is that why should we change our current business model? We are getting a lot of fruits at the moment, so why do we need to? So that's why only by doing research you can challenge this normal idea or a conventional idea. If you stick, trust me, I'm not against industrial, since architect An is not here. If you stick in the industry, there's nothing much you can change, okay, and then you cannot come up with innovative ideas, because everything is about dollar and cents. If the developer, if the client don't want to pay you, then that's it. You cannot change much. All right, but that's why in my thesis I call it as disruptive business model. It's going to disrupt, okay, disrupt the whole ecosystem. Is going to be, the developer will not liken to the idea, and maybe some of the stakeholder, will not take the risk to change their current business model. Yes.
I see. Okay. Next question is from Fabian's. Do this adaptation can help to reduce the market price of housing in the future, as we know that the price of houses is increasing by the year?
Yeah, this is the whole idea of this flexible housing and innovative leasing. Okay, you imagine on the phone, the sample that I gave earlier about the phone. So the refurbished models become cheaper and cheaper. And if the phone you can get with better specs, and you don't need to pay for maybe 2,000 or 3,000 to buy a new phone, you just maybe a few hundred, it will reduce the price, definitely. Okay, let me just give this history of GM car. When cars being introduced in US back in 50s and 60s, at that time car is a luxury item. Okay, car is a luxury item, so everyone who can afford the car is considered as a rich people. But then when Honda, okay, start penetrate US market, and then saying that, okay, we can produce cheaper car, and then everyone can afford the car, and suddenly everything become affordable. You see, that's what happened to current economy as well, where when China produce a lot of this we call it what we call it, what will be the term, as an alternative. For example, if the car is normally maybe 200,000 price, but then China beats the market, it can sell better design, better specification, but with cheaper option. So yeah, the market will eventually will be disturbed. So of course, if this idea implemented in Malaysia, it will disturb the market and then reduce the price.
I see. Okay, great. Next one is from Mahmoud Baghdadi. Can we relate between IBS and CE?
Okay. For this strategy, I combine IBS and CE. So IBS is okay at the moment. What happened in the market is just IBS. Okay, the product still being produced and then it become waste. Okay, towards the end. But then when we combine IBS and CE, we need to make sure that the unit can be transferred to the factory and then remanufactured and then transferred to the next person. So that's the difference between the current IBS and CE. So I can say that I'm the first. Maybe I promote the idea of the IBS combined with CE. That's what we call as flexible housing circular economy. Okay. Yep.
All right. Nice. Next one is from Kelvin. How do we apply this concept in private residential house, and will the society accept when we introduce the concept?
Okay. why do you ask yourself, would you accept this concept if it being implemented in the market? So would you accept this concept, or okay, I would rather just wait and see, and or you have no option? Because in part of my PhD as well, I did some interviews and focus group with young urbanites, because my study is towards young urbanites, especially for young urbanites between 23 to 34 years old. So I would say that most of them are open to this idea, were open to this idea, but then they need to, of course, they need to know the details of it, what will they get, and what the company can offer to them. So there's a lot of things that need to be churn up in order to make it realized. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a few more studies, there's a few more steps to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next is from. Right. Next question is, in your opinion, sir, is there any reason why flexible housing isn't implemented in Malaysia?
Okay. As I mentioned, after discussion with stakeholders in Malaysia, which involve the developers, contractors, and also investors. Yeah, the reasons and the excuses are simple. Why we need to change if it's not broken. Okay, so the idea is that they are too comfortable with the current situation. So what my suggestion is that we need a new company, a new disrupt company, a new startup who came up with this idea. We cannot test this towards existing companies. We need to have a new startup, new company who came up with this idea, and then go to the market. That's the only option in order to sell this idea.
Okay. Next question. Would you think the concept of circular economy would be as effective as envisioned before in the post-pandemic context or the new normal context? Thank you.
Okay. This concept is really work in the post-pandemic era. Because why? Because the manufacturing of the product will be held in factory, okay, and will be produced using robotic, okay, with less human. Therefore, we will use less human skills. Therefore, we will have the social distance forever. And the unit will only be transferred once it completed. So there's very little wet construction will be happen on site. So this is actually a very ideal construction way, where we upgrade the current IBS into fully automation and mechanization. Yep.
Okay. I think that's about the questions we have for now. Okay, so 1 second. Yeah. Anyone else have any question for this one? Last call.
So do you guys have idea about circular economy already now? Okay, so it's actually a branch from sustainable design, but it's a discipline on its own. So if you guys really want to know further about BCE, I would suggest to go to Ellen MacArthur Foundation and to read more from there. And maybe you can infuse the idea of CE into your design, so that you can inculcate this idea of circular economy as part of your sustainable approach in your design. So I think it's good for architecture students to nurture this idea from degree, so that when you venture into part 2, you can explore further in terms of this concept, and then if you want to go further for PhD, maybe, I don't know, you can there's a lot of research options that you can go.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Zack. Thank you for the sharing and your insights. Okay, we will have a few more online lectures coming up, so stay tuned to our MASA's Instagram and Facebook page. Yeah, so thank you, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed the session. Thank you, Dr. Zack.
Thank you all. Good evening.
Thank you for your time. All right.
Stay safe. Bye.
Okay, goodbye, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
Night.